This is my $50,000 bike collection. This has actually become a problem. This isn't a video to brag or show off or anything. In fact, I want to get rid of half these bikes or more. Some of these bikes are mine, some of these bikes aren't. So in this video, I'm going to show you the status on all these bikes, what bikes need to go and what bikes are staying. So with all of the bikes in my possession, my garage is completely overloaded. But now that high-low is finished, I can finally start offloading some bikes and get a lot of my bikes put back together, but also finish my favorite bike in my collection, and it's not this high bike. So I'm gonna start by stripping this bike down and returning it back to stock. Phew, that took longer than expected, and I still have some odds and ends to take care of, like, you know, putting the chain back on, stuff like that, but I'll get to that later. I got a ton of stuff to work on today. I ended up installing some Maxxis tires front and rear because I ruined 2 of the stock tires on the high-low series just to like demonstrate stuff. But overall, I'm thinking this bike looks pretty good, and I'm gonna try to list it for $1,100 on Marketplace. But that brings us to the next bike, the low bike. And funny enough, this Polygon T7 is not mine. I have to send it back. So I had it as a loaner for the high-low series. So now I gotta get this thing all boxed. I gotta return it back to stock, and then I gotta get it boxed up and return it to Bikes Online. Goodbye, low bike. As sad as it is to get rid of a bike, man, it frees up so much more space. And you might be wondering, Evan, where are you storing all of these bikes? Well, let me take you to the other side of the garage. So this is the other side of the garage that I'm not proud of. I have a few bikes on the hooks on the walls, but for the most part, I have a lot of bikes here upside down, just kind of shoved on this side of the garage. I've definitely been making an effort to organize better around this garage, and with this career path, you know, being a YouTuber and building bikes and stuff, that's one thing that I didn't expect the most, was having to organize the shop and spend hours every week just getting everything tidied up and, you know, ready to go. But I recently got something. It's a Bamboo Labs A1 3D printer. They're the sponsor of this video, and I got it to organize this shop a little bit better. And let me tell you, I've been printing all sorts of tool holders and hooks to hang stuff, and Bamboo Labs makes some of the best 3D printers on the market, and the A1 is the perfect starter printer. It's super easy to use and easy to assemble, and it was pretty easy to set up. With my e-bike, I'm not really supposed to be storing it upside down because it smashes the motor controller. So I'm gonna try to find something to make on the 3D printer, and there's tons of free sites where you can download free 3D models to print, like a website called MakerWorld. I found this bike repair stand file that hooks onto the bars, and it should lift the grip up off the ground so I don't have to smash the controller anymore. So I downloaded the file, opened it on my Bamboo Studio, and I sent it over to my 3D printer. Now all I gotta do is let it print, and we'll check on that later. Next up are 2 bikes that haven't been on the main channel before. I made a second channel video about this bike, the Superior XP969. It's a carbon XC hardtail that sells for about $18.99. This thing rips. It's technically a demo, but my dad rode it when he was visiting, and he says he's gonna buy it for himself because he liked it so much. So that will be another bike leaving the garage. Then the other bike here is another Superior bike, but it's an e-bike, the EXF9039B. This is like a 160, 150 travel trail bike, and it has a Bosch motor. I've never tried a Bosch motor before, and it's pretty good. I think I might like Shimano motors better still, but I got this bike back in like May or June. I barely got to ride it so far. I didn't even get to make a video about it, but now that I'm hurt, I can't ride any bikes at all, so kind of sucks, but it's a cool e-bike for the price, and I think it's selling for like $37.99 right now. Next is my beloved hardtail, the Bird Forge 29. And the last time you guys saw this bike, I had installed some Chinese carbon wheels, and I got a KOM with this bike that still stands today. But that's the last time that I rode it. High-low took a lot of time, man. It was like working 100 hours a week. But honestly, I'm not really in a hardtail mood right now. I do have to take off these cranks though. There are SRAM XX1 175mm long cranks, supposed to be on my XC bike. What's really supposed to be on this bike are these X01 cranks that I was using for the high-low series. I could definitely sell this bike. I'm not really riding it right now, but I'd probably only get like $1,200 for it, and I think it's kind of cool to have a hardtail in your stable, so I'm gonna keep this bike. This is my most recent build, the Specialized S-Works Jump Jumper 15. Probably my favorite build that I've ever done, just going off the looks, because I can't ride it. And in case you missed it, I'm currently raffling off this bike. It's going well so far. I might do more in the future, but it's awesome knowing that one of you guys is gonna have this sick S-Works. I'm still running ticket bonuses, not as big as before, but I'm probably gonna close out the competition early, like the end of August. So if you wanna enter, click that raffle link and check out all the official contest rules. Next is the Polygon Syncline, my XC bike. If you can remember, I drilled a hole in the carbon frame, and then I got a carbon patch kit, and it turned out pretty good. Then in April, I did an XC race, and I got second in Cat 3, which felt like a pretty big accomplishment. I was racing a guy named Tyler for almost an hour straight, and I've come a long way since I first started mountain biking, where I could only ride 5 minutes continuously before being totally gassed out and out of breath. And since that race, I stole the derailleur, I stole the chain, I stole the cranks. But now with it finally all back together, maybe I'll get around to cleaning it. Next up are some more polygons. The Polygon Xstrata 6, my wife's bike that I keep stealing parts off of, and then the Polygon Bend V9X gravel bike that I've also stolen parts off of. I'm gonna continue holding on to this bike because even though my wife doesn't ride it that often, it's probably only worth like $500, so why bother really? And then the Bend V9X gravel bike, it's got to go. It's a demo from Bikes Online, and I had used the GX Axis derailleur on the high bike, so I gotta get this bike back to stock and get it all boxed up. Overall, gravel bikes, I don't know, man. My XC hardtail over there is 3 pounds lighter, and everybody in gravel is always trying to go wide tires like a mountain bike. So I don't know, gravel's in a weird spot right now, and I don't think it's for me, but let's get to my favorite bike. So here it is, my favorite bike, and it's an e-bike. It's not my favorite because it's an e-bike. This is a Polygon T7, and it's my favorite bike because it has perfect geometry. It just fits me so well. The last time you guys saw this bike, I had put on some Chinese carbon wheels on it, but I have some even bigger plans. Like I want to put on a coil rear shock. I want to get new forks, different brakes, pretty much everything. This bike is going to be freaking awesome by the time I'm done with it. Plus, I'll make a bunch of videos and bring you guys along the way. All right, after about an hour and a half of printing, my bike repair stand is done and it looks great. And the files that you download has all the information about layering and honeycombing, so it's really easy just to press print and it turns out awesome. And that was my biggest hurdle with 3D printing, getting a 3D printer all these years, was I didn't want to design something myself on like Fusion 360 or whatever they use. But let's see if this works. Overall, I've had a blast 3D printing stuff. I've printed hooks for tools, plier holders, these super awesome socket holders, and even these oil holders, and that's all files that I found online. The possibility with 3D printing is endless, and overall this Bambu Labs A1 Combo 3D printer has been amazing, super easy to use, and they even have a budget version, the A1 Mini. With both of those, you'll get really good quality prints, perfect for beginners, and if you want to get one for yourself, I'll have a link in the description. Bambu Labs has some great deals going on right now. All right, the last complete bike in the fleet, a bike that hasn't been on the channel yet, a Polygon T9, the top spec version of what I used in high-low. I was gonna make this the third bike to ride during the high-low finale, so it would be the high and the low upgraded bikes versus stock top spec bike, but I had to ride it out of the storyline because of the crash. Oh, this bike is actually mine. I own this one, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep it or not. I haven't even ridden it just yet, but I do want to make a video about this bike versus a YT GFC Core because I think that would be an awesome comparison. Last up are all three of these frames, and this one here is the Canyon Spectra 125 that I never got around to building up and selling, but I'd like to. But the priority is to build up and sell this one, the YT GFC Uncaged. If you remember, this bike built up had electronic suspension, carbon wheels, all that good stuff, but the bike market is so messed up right now. Trying to sell a bike that's used for $3,000 is gonna be really hard. So the plan is to use all the parts off Low Bike, build this thing up, and hopefully sell it for like $1,800. Then you got my Commensal Meta SX, and I said I was gonna keep this frame forever, but I had some second thoughts. I haven't ridden it in like a year, so I listed it on Facebook Marketplace as is. So with the shock, the dropper, the cranks, and the bottom bracket, I listed it in January for $1,300, and it still has not sold. I've had some crazy lowball offers for like $1,000, but I'm like, dude, I can't go that low. I'd rather just hold on to it. In fact, I've actually been getting the itch to build it back up and test out some parts like the O-chain, the switch grade anomaly, and maybe even like a steering damper, but let me know if that interests you. But with that all wrapped up, once I get the demo sent back, all the other bikes sold, including building these frames up, I'll have gone from 14 bikes and frames down to just 5 bikes. But thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.